Does anybody remember pyridoxal 5-phosphate, the cause of the polymorphism? In other words, the genetic inability to activate enough pyridoxine to pyridoxal 5-phosphate can be caused by viruses, certain bacteria, toxins, radiation. These are the big things that damage our genes. Okay? Now this can be acquired or it can be inherited. So if it's inherited, you can blame mum or dad or parents after that, some forefathers. If it's acquired, it could be because the person's got a build-up of toxins like mercury and other metals, been on trips to radioactive areas which could damage their genes, exposed to a lot of chemicals, teratogenic, genotoxic chemicals. So all these things are possible to cause abnormalities in there. But the most important thing is that they only respond to pyridoxal 5-phosphate and not B6. But if you use the rice bran, it seems to help activate the B6 or to get the pyridoxal 5-phosphate to work more efficiently. As I said, we think it's due to acting partly as a time release, but there may be other reasons for this as well. Okay, now the illness or disease which was definitely an inherited characteristic with this was gonorrhea. That does not mean that anybody who shows the pyridoxal 5-phosphate has got gonorrhea. So don't go around thinking I better go and have a test. It doesn't even mean that mum and dad have got gonorrhea or had it, okay? Because they may have had a polymorphism from a toxin or something else, you know. My dad had P5P issues. He had heart disease. His dad died at age 58 from a heart attack. And what I didn't know until recently is my grandfather, who I never knew because he died in 1936, was in the First World War and was mustard gassed. And I had no idea this. You know, I subsequently found this out, and was always apparently a grumpy old man. Now some would say my father was also a little bit grumpy. Helen, you remember my father? Used to call him grumpy. But he was nothing as grumpy as his dad. God bless you both. But my grandfather, his father, was in the First World War and was mustard gassed. And you think what that could have done to you, you know, as far as your genetic expression of spending years in the trenches and then being mustard gassed. So, you know, it could have dramatic effects on it. So it's not surprising that I need P5P as well, okay? And probably, you know, some of my family need P5P as well. So it follows down. But it is a big, probably of the polymorphisms and the need for activated vitamins, P5P is the most common one, okay? Followed by adenosylcobalamin, probably followed by methylcobalamin, and then some of the folates, and then tetrahydrobiopterin. That comes up quite a lot more than what I ever expected it to. So those are the big ones. You know, I've occasionally found a thiamine problem, but those are the big ones that show. So I just want to do one on you. What's your Christian name? Caroline, because Caroline's actually got a migraine. Bless her, because it's not a very pleasant thing to have. So what we're going to do is just a quick assessment there, take you through your paces. I expect all you want is a darkened room, isn't it? And she's had it for 3 days, so this is, you know, just the ticket, isn't it? Pull. So at least we're starting off with a good bit of hope there. Now for speed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch, you touch there, if you will. Good, and then right round the face on with the other hand. So let's see whether she's in, she's amazing. Okay, she's in harmony there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch the meridian points for speed, okay? Because this can't be easy. And no doubt I'm touching the side. Which side is it? Is it on the other side? It's the other side. Oh, well, that's some saving grace, isn't it? So she's on conception vessel. And then if you just excuse me, I'll do the other ones. What? I'll put it up on screen. Can you put it up on screen? So you must be the heart as well. Up you go. Popular, this heart, isn't it? The good thing about the heart is from an emotional point of view, you're coming from a very high place. Love and reverence. So it's a good combination to have that rather than the other way around. So what's happening here is your heart is your major one, right? So just to keep it nice and simple here, where's she gone again? Oh, there you are, right. Okay, come back. Okay. This is she's behind the screen now. Okay, so I want oxygen. Okay, and then followed by phospholipids and hemoglobin. So strengthens to oxygen. Give me the hemoglobin, so I'm hoping it's hemoglobin anyway. Phospholipids, remember to test for the phospholipids, obviously then we'll be looking at oils. There's a phone going off. Is it outside? Can you shut the doors? Thanks. So she strengthens to hemoglobin. Okay, so now we want ALA. Okay, AMA. Good, she's passed that. PPG. Uroporphinogen next. PBG, she's passed that. She's not excited, as you can see. No excitotoxin there. Okay. Uroporphinogen, uroporphyrin. Okay. Copro, followed by proto. So what we should find here is that copro is negative. I'll keep that because she'll probably weaken to that. And if we're right, she's the migraine one, it'll be proto, which she strengthens to. That's where the deficiency is. So it's exactly the same as what we had just now. Okay, so what we do is we just confirm that with the copro. Take that one away. Okay, so in the clear, copro porphyrinogen weakens, so we're dead on target there. Okay, go back under the arm there. And could we have some P5P? The caps. We'll do that straight away because we know that that is a P5P dependent pathway. Okay. We haven't got a ring, have we? Okay. So 1 cap, 2 caps, 3 caps, 4 caps. Okay, no, that's it. 4 caps, 4 the best there. Now, we want a Mauve. I've got the Mauve. Okay, so 4 caps of P5P is what she genetically needs. We don't know what's triggering this. Usually with migraines, the trigger is something she's eaten, so it would probably show us an allergy, maybe a chemical sometimes upsets. So remember, we're just looking at the underneath genetic expression for her, because she said, would it help if she took some lutein right now? And the answer is, I'll tell you. Okay, so she's Mauve, of course. Okay, so let's have lutein. Now, we need... That's it. You keep pouring them. I think I've got a feeling we've got a champion here. So 1, 2, 3. You can never tell with a person. You know, we've had ones which don't appear to be too bad and need a lot, like we just had. Was it Carmen? Was it Carmen? Where is she? Oh, there. You were 4, weren't you? Yeah. So 4. You've been beaten. How many were you, Vu? 4. We've got an all clear winner here, not even 5 making a difference at all. 6, so that would be 12. We've got a champion here, right? Yep. As you'd expect, migraines, awful things. Okay, so shall we do the free radicals now as well? So if you give me superoxide and hydrogen peroxide. So you can imagine here, chemicals can trigger migraines off. Why can she not metabolize the chemicals? Why is she chemically sensitive? Because she's not producing cytochrome P450, is she? She's got no heme or not enough heme. Okay, so it's the same with many other things. She's become hypersensitive because she can't detoxify. She hasn't got the other issues. So superoxide. Okay. Do you know what colour you are to weaken to?
I think it's green.
How tall are you?
5'4".
5,4, no, you're 2. So she's got the peroxides. So let's get out the colours, shall we, as well there. So, so you can have it in a minute. You can have your lutein in a minute, okay. I just need to just do a quick check on here something. Okay, so you reckon you're green? No, that's the green, what's the complementary? Okay, so the complementary colour and the green are very similar. They're 5 nanometers different, but that could be sufficient. Now I want the blue next. I've got the blue here. Okay. Most patients are blue, Paul, but we're blessed here with a red. I used to think reds were the best people because I was a red. Then I discovered I was a red-green, and then I became a green, so greens are the best now. Okay, so, okay, now this is interesting because I'm going to just cross-check here, okay, to the thyroid gland, okay, and she strengthens the thyroid against that, and that indicates that she's got a thyroid issue, which you're working on at the moment, but you stand no chance yet because I'm just about to show you. So you go off and take your lutein, and hopefully, you know, we'll start to make some progress. So if I give you all of those, all right? Okay, I think if you want to tidy those up. Oh, here it is. Okay, so back onto the screen. Right, I will come back to you in a minute because of what that issue is. Okay, so let's go back on working our way through. So that's where we were here. So what we found here, we strengthened. Oh, we're going back. Sorry. We strengthened to this, and therefore we were shunting it sideways to coproporphinogen, which was oxidizing in the light, to coproporphyrin, which I put in there, migraines, because this is the migraine patient. The things on red are not on the charts, right? They're just things I added, you know, clinically, so that you think, oh yes, that I can understand. So always challenge with Mauve when high in uroporphyrin or coproporphinogen. Okay, so the rest is fairly straightforward. They're oxidizing enzymes. So these tend to need vitamin B2 or FAD, which is the activated form. Again, look at the inhibition. Mercury, stimulated here by methyltrexate, inhibited by fluorine. Now, fluorine, we always associate fluorine in toothpaste and things, but it's an awful lot in pesticides as well, apparently. So that can be inhibited with pesticides. And then the last bit, protoporphyrin into heme, is inhibited by lead again, and lead induces aplastic anemia, which is, you know, in insufficient red and white blood cells, cadmium, manganese, and mercury. These are the common heme-dependent enzymes, which is why I like to test people out who've got this, because not only will they be low in hemoglobin, but they're going to be low in myoglobin, which means that they're not going to have enough oxygen reserve in their muscle cells. Okay, so they're tired. Cytochrome C is the last part of making the ATP in the mitochondrial membranes. Cytochrome P450, which is the detoxifying enzymes. Catalase, which gets rid of our hydrogen peroxide. Cystathione synthase, which basically gets rid of homocysteine. And sulfate oxidase, which gets rid of sulfites. So that's a sort of starting block with this. Patrick, I think, taught quite a bit, or mentioned quite a lot about homocysteine yesterday. So cystathione synthase is the enzyme that converts homocysteine round into cystathione and cysteine. Okay, so it's a very important enzyme. And the books will tell us that it's P5P dependent, and this is basically why, and vitamin C. Okay, so those are the two factors with it. What we know from the literature is that high homocysteine levels are bad and can predispose to cardiovascular problems, okay? Predispose people to all sorts of problems and that. But we also know that homocysteine is there as an intermediate substance, and in fact is low in cancer cases, and very often with blue people. They like homocysteine because homocysteine becomes recycled by using methylcobalamin and the folates to make more S-adenosyl methionine to produce more methyl donors. Okay? So if you didn't have homocysteine, you couldn't activate enough methyl donors. So blue people often strengthen to homocysteine, whereas red and green weaken to it. Okay, you have these issues. So personally, it's having discovered this, and I had no idea that cysteine synthase was a heme-dependent enzyme. I don't think homocysteine's a problem. I don't think it's an issue. I think the problem with homocysteine is it's measured as being high with people with pyridoxal 5-phosphate deficiency. And what you're picking up is P5P deficiency. And of course, the measure of that is high homocysteine, so everybody's going crazy. Homocysteine is the cause of all these sort of things. I don't think it is. You're clearly looking at, with somebody who weakens to homocysteine, a problem with B6 metabolism and vitamin C. So the two of those make collagen. So the collagen breaks down, that's why you burst, why you have strokes and things like that. If you think about it logically, why would you have homocysteine in there if it was a bad guy? Okay? It's really like the same thing, I think, with the pyrroles. I don't think the cryptopyrrole or the hemopyrole is the bad thing. I think that's the body's metabolite of it. It's the PBG which is the bad thing because it acts as an excitotoxin. And I think, you know, I'm probably heretic in saying this, but I don't think homocysteine is probably a bad one. It's a marker that it could be bad. You know, I might be stepping out of line there, that it could be bad, but I think it's just a sign of B6 deficiency. So what you're seeing is chronic cardiovascular deficiency. So anybody who needs P5P is probably in danger of developing cardiovascular problems. But epigenetically, you can change that. You know, this is the thing, you've been given that information, and that's lovely to be given that information. Then you can decide whether you act on it or not. And when bits and pieces drop off, and you can't see anymore, and you're feeling dizzy, and then you think, I should have done something about that. Right, so that's the end result there, sulfate oxidase. And then you can't drink either. Okay, so you lost all your senses and you can't drink, then you're in trouble. Hemoproteins. Hemoglobin is composed of heme, which now we've seen. So heme actually is coming together of 4 pyrroles, and then that combination forms like a snowflake, and then bits are chopped off all the way through. Okay. Hemoglobin is composed of ferrocyan and globin protein, which is composed of an alpha and a beta chain. The alpha chain is mostly phenylalanine, lysine, threonine, valine, and methionine and leucine. The beta chain is those amino acids. Myoglobin in muscle stores oxygen in the resting state as oxyhemoglobin, and on exercise releases the oxygen. So it's like our reserve tank of O2. It is composed of the same amino acids as hemoglobin. Oxygen, nitric oxide, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen sulfide bind to the iron atom in heme. So not only does oxygen bind there, but unfortunately other things can do as well, particularly carbon monoxide, which is why if you're exposed to carbon monoxide, you slowly die from oxygen starvation. Okay? That's why you have very important to have a carbon monoxide monitor on your wall, isn't it, wherever you've got gas. Once bound to the prosthetic heme group, these molecules can modulate its activity. So myeloperoxidase, we talked about stimulating the production in the neutrophils of the hypochlorites, etc. Now, sorry, what was your Christian name? What? Caroline, yes, sorry, Caroline. Thyroid peroxidase, or thyroperoxidase, is an enzyme expressed mainly in the thyroid that liberates iodine for addition onto tyrosine residues on thyroglobulin for the production of thyroxine, T4, and triiodothyronine, or T3, the thyroid hormones. Thyroid peroxidase. What's it made from? Heme. Yeah, heme. So your migraines and things are expression of your low heme. We picked it up as strengthening to hemoglobin, all right? But this explains why you will weaken to peroxide, because your catalase is low, your aminoperoxidase will be low, your sulfide oxidase will be low, and your thyroid peroxidase are low. All peroxidasing enzymes, except glutathione peroxidase, are heme-dependent. Interesting, isn't it? You begin to pick it up. Tell us a little bit about your sight. I'm sorry to irritate you with a migraine.
No, it's right. I'm long-sighted.
She's long-sighted, which means you can see long distance, like me, yeah.
But at the moment, my right eye is phasing in and out of completely blurred.
Yeah, yeah. But normally, you wear glasses for reading.
For reading.
Okay. So she's got what we talked about, the long arm syndrome, which means her rods are failing, and they're being liquefied. We're pouring the peroxide on there. Okay, so no wonder they're, you know, very sensitive to things. I would guarantee she's chemically sensitive, because probably cytochrome P450s are not working, you know, that brilliantly in a cell. So you need really to go through the whole thing tooth comb. So you need to start where we did originally with Viv and look at the phenotype, at toxins and things that trigger it, foods that may be chemicals, toxic metals, etc., and then move on to those gene ones, okay, and get those sorted out. Okay, but it's interesting, and I only found that out recently, all right, when I was looking in studying that it came up with all the peroxidase enzymes. The deeper you get into these things, the more you can find out that all the peroxidase, in other words, how you get rid of peroxides in the body, all of them except glutathione peroxidase are heme dependent. So once you get into this and you realize that heme shows up in most of our patients, which is basically they're saying they're hypoxic, you've got the thyroid gland in there now as well. You know, we might find other glands in there soon. So let's just do a quick job on pyrourea. So this is known as many different names: cryptopyrrole, Mauve factor. It can best be described as abnormal synthesis and metabolism of the oxygen-carrying molecule hemoglobin. As with all cells, there are waste or byproducts in there, and the one here is called hydroxyhemopyrrole, or HPL we'll call it for short, also known as pyrole. The metabolite was originally thought to be cryptopyrrole, but further studies have proven this not to be the case. But it's pretty close. It's an isomer of it, and they often measure this in the urine instead. Here it is. So we've got a methyl group there. This is the hydroxyhemopyrrole. In humans, urine is found in the urine, blood, and cerebral spinal fluid. So this is not just in bone marrow, this is floating around the whole body. So it's in the cerebral spinal fluid, which means you've got an excitotoxin activity in there. Mistakenly identified as cryptopyrrole, chemically similar to cryptopyrrole. And here we have the hemopyrrole, the one what you see here too, and all you've got is the methyl around the other way. See, it's just exactly the same. This is why it's mistaken. So this is on this side, and this is on this side. So it's an isomer. Everything else down here is exactly the same. So you can see it was an easy mistake. It was discovered in the urine in 1957, okay, by Abraham Hoffer. Now, you might have heard of Abraham Hoffer. He was the first sort of psychiatrist who used orthomolecular medicine. And he used high doses of B6 and niacinamide in schizophrenics. It's often mentioned. Dr. Goodhart used to talk about Abraham Hoffer a lot, and Royal Lee, so it might have been in there. It was named for lilac-coloured appearance on paper on chromatography. All normal psychiatric problems were Mauve negative, in other words, they didn't show. 27 out of 39 early schizophrenics were positive. All 7 who recovered on niacinamide converted to negative. Relapse is often associated with the reappearance of Mauve in the urine. Apparent role in other behaviours, alcoholism, depression. These are all psychiatric problems. This is where the interest was. The mentally retarded Mauve positive child responded dramatically. It's heat and light. They are heat and light sensitive. Relatives should be tested. So if you've got Mauve and you weaken to Mauve, you should get other people in the family. 10 out of 14 criminal deviant positives. Oh, Viv. 10 out of 14. Take your chance there. All recovered schizophrenics were negative. Unrecovered 50% were positive. Report on 850 behaviours by O'Reilly. First documented observations with Mauve associated with stress. Stress increased the production of Mauve, as you'd probably expect. Then they did Down syndrome with 70%, schizophrenia 40 to 70. autism 50%, ADDH, and alcoholism. Alcoholism, of course, we know is really chronic B6 deficiency. When you get on, alcohol basically is depression. People drink because they're depressed, they're low in serotonin, low in dopamine. And what makes dopamine and what makes serotonin? Pyridoxal 5-phosphate, doesn't it? So again, you're looking at the results, ultimately, of P5P deficiency. So Mauve levels were measured there in relationship to zinc and B6. Symptoms can improve. Carl Pfeiffer in the 1980s. Symptoms may improve in 24 hours. Somebody was asking, well, how quick can I expect it? But usually it takes a week or so, may need a month or more. Relapses usually occur within days or weeks if they don't take the nutrients. Certainly 2 weeks if it's P5P. Other nutrients could be quicker or slower. And that's the graph of the relationship of the pyrole to B6. Now here's the important thing here. These are the symptoms that they notice with the people. And this, you want to tick out how many you've got, particularly those people who suspect they're Mauve. Nail spots, that was always a sign of zinc, wasn't it, deficiency. Stretch marks, now this is really interesting. Stretch marks when you haven't been pregnant. Okay, so you may have stretch marks because you've been pregnant, in which case you haven't got the recoil back in the elastin and the collagen in the skin. And the collagen, the skin is the richest source of collagen, and collagen needs P5P right at the end of it. Pale skin, probably because you're not producing the heme, of course. Poor tanning, they actually don't like the sun, you know, for obvious reasons. They get pain in the knees especially. Why? Because they're getting peroxides. Constipation, so these people have bowel problems. Poor dream recall, which is always a classic B6 deficiency, they say. Most people do dream. You know, when they study it, they see their rapid eye movements and things. They dream, but they can't remember what they dream. You know, I think I said the same thing with Jill. You know, what did you dream last night? And she'll say, yes, I think so. And I said, well, because you were screaming out. She said, was I? Yes, I said, you were yelping. You know, I didn't like to wake you up because I don't wake you up in the middle of a nasty dream. You just let them yelp and she said, no. So she was happy. She had had a good night's sleep. So I said, well, I wonder what it was that you were dreaming about, because it was like an animal yelping. And no idea at all, because she needs 10 squirts of P5P. Okay, so poor dream recall. It doesn't mean you don't dream. Okay, morning nausea. Thank heaven she's not getting that. So morning nausea is a sure sign during pregnancy, of course, is B6 deficiency. So dear Kate, Princess Kate will be a classic, isn't she? She ended up in hospital this time with, or the first time, with Prince George, okay, in the early days of the pregnancy. Is that going to get better next time? No. Next pregnancy will be worse, won't it? And you'll see, I would lay all the money, no, that would be silly because I haven't got any, but I would lay all the money that you've got that she's Mauve. Okay. So, you know, she's a classic because she's got B6 deficiency. Morning sickness is B6 deficiency. Light and sound sensitivity, well, we talked about light, and we think now we could have frequencies in there. Odor intolerance, chemical intolerances. Okay, these people can't stand different smells. Migraines, we've mentioned already. Stitch in the side. Low stress tolerance. Walsh experimented by putting army soldiers who showed up positive to Mauve in freezing cold water. That's how they stressed them. And then he was amazed that the Mauve increased in the urine. Okay, but stress certainly does seem to increase it. Anxiously, sometimes they're overly pessimistic. Okay? Can be explosive anger, hyperactivity in some people. Chrysia sounds socially withdrawn. This is more coming into the spectrum then of emotionally labile, loss of appetite. This is first, especially first thing in the morning. They don't have much of an appetite for breakfast. You've got difficulty in getting food into them. Gary, you were like this. You said you didn't have breakfast this morning. You had a big steak at 9 o'clock. Okay, that's right. Okay, lots of that. Easily fatigued. They don't have any stamina. Why? Because the heme isn't there for the oxygen and all the other things. Now, we've added a few more. There's a little journal that Igor sent me from the, which I think we've got copies out there. We can send it to you by email. Okay, we don't want to put it on the website because we're not sure of the legality of it as far as copyright, but it's of the Institute of Neuropsychology, and it tells you all about this pyrole problem. thyroid disease and things. I just leave it in the waiting room and let people read it. See, it's only about 8 pages, but it explains everything that I've been talking today. So if you want it, just email Clive or any of the sales team. They will send it on. Okay, we won't post it on because it's a journal extract at this stage. Okay, but these were the ones that they added. Abnormal fat distribution. It's usually around the middle. Okay, I never really thought about it, but that doctor in Ireland, when we taught this, she said it's due to hormones. She says it's classic high estrogen and low testosterone. Irritable bowel. Why irritable? Because it's an excitotoxin. PBG is an excitotoxin. It irritates the bowel, it makes the bowel go into spasm. That's what irritable bowel is, or spastic colon it used to be called, is the muscles constrict, and you get one hell of a pain in there. Okay. Delayed puberty is because of the decrease in the testosterone. Irregular periods for the girls. Overcrowded teeth. Okay, so this is overcrowded there. Joint pains we've more or less talked about before with the knees and things. Reading difficulties. Well, their brains are blown out because of the excitotoxins. They have learning difficulties. Motion sickness. They're not very good with the peripheral vision, which is what we've described already. Auditory processing. Can't hear or not pretend, but they just don't listen. Okay, you know? Memory loss, so you don't hold it. And insomnia. Few more just to be going on with. Sugar cravings, because their energy goes down, so they crave sugar. Natural, thing that we all do, right? Poor morning appetite, which we talked about with Gary here. Frequent infections, because they can't produce the myeloperoxidase. Allergies, okay? And a lot of these people, Jill, as you go out there, could you get a slice of your bread? Do you have a slice of your bread around? Which will show you why. Allergies, mostly it's not real allergies, it's chemical intolerances and to rancid fats. Impotence, because the testosterone goes. Sweet breath and body odor, this is usually a sign of sugar handling problems, creating acetone and things. Paranoia, seizures, and intolerance to bright lights. Okay, does that, you can more or less put your hand up to most of these things. But our patients are worse. We're the healthy ones in comparison. Okay, so Mauve and stress, we talked about that. Non-behavioural Mauve problems. It's interesting, I think cancer's in there somewhere as well. We can see that Hoffa found 33 out of 99 cancer cases, and he was only looking for pyrroles, not for porphyrins. Okay, they weren't mixing, they weren't doing this, they were just doing the thinking points, magnesium, B6, B3 and zinc have antioxidant effects. I'm going to just whip through those because you're familiar with antioxidants and things. So again, enzymes that require heme. We know that levels of heme on those various 8 enzymes are inhibited by toxins: gasoline, benzene, arsenic, lead, mercury and cadmium. Low heme, brucine, not brucines, brucines. Experimental heme depression in culture brain cells, decreased complex 4 in the mitochondria, 50% reduction in intracellular zinc and iron. People who suffer with pyrole produce excessive amounts of these pyrroles, which bind and inhibit nutrients like zinc, biotin, B6. That should be P5P really. Omega 6, especially GLA, from reaching their targets. Igor, my friend, it may well be a P450 enzyme that oxidizes hemopyrrole and cryptopyrrole. So we think it's a cytochrome P450 there that creates those oxidizing chemicals. The hydroxyhemopyrrole is either an intense chelator of vitamin B6 and zinc, or it facilitates their urinary excretion. People need massive amounts. Okay, so we found with you, didn't we, with the liquid one, the true level of B6 pyridoxal 5-phosphate was 250 milligrams, but we got that down by using the slow release with the rice bran. But even 125 when the RDA is 1.6. You can see the difference is enormous. But they talk about much higher levels, but I think the much higher levels is because of they use pyridoxine and not pyridoxal 5-phosphate. Okay, so Iger goes on, interestingly, PBG, that's the first pyrrole, is broken down by a deaminase enzyme, and the release of ammonia from it may presume more P5P for utilizing and forming ammonia in, for example, the glutamine synthetase reactions. So, in other words, even getting rid of PBG requires more B6, as we know. So HPL inhibits heme synthesis. Experimentally, heme inhibition resulted in lower cellular zinc, according to Bruce Ames. Mauve factor, we've talked about that. It is not uncommon for those with this condition to have gluten and casein sensitivity. This condition is more prevalent in many of the same populations that we see increasing prevalence of gluten sensitivity. It can cause wide-ranging symptoms. Now, except if you use Jill's bread. So you've got some bread. I want somebody who knows they're sensitive to wheat. Okay, look at all the hands, yeah. Okay, Elizabeth, you're really sensitive, are you? Good. Okay, let's have you out.
Chris, Hoffa only tested his patients that actually gave them
B3 or B6. He did use B6, but of course they used pyridoxine and niacinamide. They didn't use the activated forms. Okay, you pop onto your back. Okay, now I think Elizabeth has a few visual problems. We've known each other for 10, 12 more years. So could we have the purple, the mauve? So I suspect she's mauve. I'll be very cross if you're not. Okay. Now, so she is mauve. Now I knew she got a little bit of a visual problem because in the winter seminar she goes home early. Because she can't drive in the dark. Okay, light sensitivity. What does that tell you? Do you get the bright lights of light coming towards you? Yeah. Is that why you can't? Yeah.
When I see all the red lights and everything,
yes. Well, so what's she telling you? She's telling you the pupils aren't constricting down, isn't it, to the bright light? You have bright light straight into your eye. It's painful, to say the least, because normally your pupil would shut down, wouldn't it, and stop it. Okay. So what happens is it stays open. Okay. So she's telling you that is the very first signs of that the rods are disappearing fast. So you come up behind her and she won't see your hand coming. Okay. So she's out. Now, what do we want? So let's try try wheat, shall we? Yeah. Now, she says she's gluten sensitive. I think she may well be gluten sensitive or wheat sensitive. Oh, you're going for the wheat. Okay. So, yeah, let's test wheat first, yeah. So people, you could use the biscuit outside, but the biscuit's got other things in it, hasn't it? It's got sugar, heaven knows what else. So if you've got a load of things in there, you can't be sure what you're testing. So if you want to test wheat, you need to test wheat. So the wheat in here is actually flour. So you'd expect flour to be a good source of wheat, which it is. But how old is the flour? All we know here is the flour is probably weeks, maybe years old. According to the guy at Dove's Farm, he said it can be years old in the supermarkets. They tell you when they should sell it by, not when it was milled. If you get freshly milled wheat, you've got between according to Rowley, 1 to 4 weeks. In the winter, or if you cook your wheat, your flour in the fridge, you may get 4 weeks before it's gone rancid. So what part goes rancid? The wheat germ. Okay, that's the bit that contains the wheat germ oil. Okay, so now this is freshly milled. When was this? This was milled Friday.
Yes, Friday.
This is Friday. Friday's mill, so it's 2 days old. Pull. Okay. I have never found anybody weakened to whole wheat. And whatever rubbish they tell you that they're gluten sensitive and all this other stuff and wheat sensitive, they are sensitive to flour. Okay, old wheat. Okay, and anything you cook with it is going to make it go even more rancid. Okay, you will be perfectly right if you eat Jill's bread. Look. Okay. Oh yes, she delivers. Anywhere over the UK, fresh the next day. Okay. Yeah, wonderful. So you can get the whole grain from lots of places now. Lots of places are running out at the moment of spelt. Okay, Dove's Farm, we get our basic wheat from, who make the flour, but go on the website, you can get the whole wheat. So you get real, proper wheat. Russia Organic down near us in between Andover and Devizes, they got plenty of spelt, so they got bags. You buy 25 kilograms at a time and mill it. Get a mill or get a Vitamix and mill your own, and when you've done that, you'll never regret it because you taste bread like you've never tasted before, or probably not unless your mum used to make bread. And my mum used to, we were brought up, my mum used to always make wholemeal bread, and all I wanted to do was go to tea with the boy next door because they had white bread. But I had to subject to this awful tough stuff. But Mum made it from Alison's flour, of course, which could have been old. We don't know, but it was better probably than white. White, I more or less guarantee you would weaken to, and any other bread you'll probably weaken to. But Jill's bread you won't. Okay? Not that there's anything magical about Jill's bread. The thing is, it's fresh, and it's organic. You know, obviously the grains are organic, otherwise we wouldn't recommend it. So spelt, you can now buy Kamut wheat as well, which is one of the simpler forms of wheat, very rich in selenium. That's the original wheat that they found in the Egyptian pyramids. Very nutritious, very full of zinc, very full of selenium. So what we want to do, shall we just do a quick check here? First there's grease lightning there. Or maybe Jill, could you do it? Just do the hemoglobin throw with her. Just test which one she wants. We'll try and find out which meridian you are first. So let's die for the heart. It'd be just our luck that it's not. But oh, we're in luck. Yeah, she's a heart. Okay, so if you can find out which one it is, and then we can find out what nutrients. And I'd like to find out with Elizabeth how bad her lutein is. Okay, I'm pretty certain she needs lutein because she's Mauve, but this will give us an idea just how bad it is, and because of the number of lutein that she requires. So gluten sensitivity is probably a chemical sensitivity due to her cytochrome P450 or other enzymes in there. So these are the things that you need to look about. Patients with positive HPL tests may need anywhere between 100 and 250 milligrams of zinc. That's a lot, isn't it? The B6 doses may range 100 to 400 milligrams, but that's talking about B6, not pyridoxal 5-phosphate, and most important is not pyridoxal 5-phosphate with the rice bran, which time releases it, so that'll bring the amount down a lot. So it's pyrole. So she's therefore high in copro, so you should find she weakens to copro. So do you get migraines?
No,
No.
I used to get really bad head when I was a child.
Yes.
As if somebody was stabbing me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Awful. Okay, so what she said is she used to get stabbing pains in the head as a child, but not the migraine. What triggers the migraine is obviously you've got to have that added extra ingredient. So that often is tyramine, isn't it? Do you know about tyramine? These are amine derivatives of tyrosine in aged food. So some of the big enemies are things which are going off, you know, like sauerkraut, etc., fermented tyrosine. So you have avocados when they are beginning to go brown, bananas when they're going to go brown, chocolate in there, certain beans, and cheese when it goes off. So some of the more mature cheeses are just deadly. Is this
I haven't found a food that triggers.
No, you won't necessarily do it because your level is so high of the peroxide, it only takes a little bit. You may not even notice because it could be one thing one day and something else. It's a total loading. What you need to do is get somebody to go through the whole thing with the tooth comb and just lower the total loading of the chemicals in you and the sensitivity, and to build you up, all right? And then gradually what will happen is you get those toxins down and you get your good nutrients up, things will start to go into balance and your life will be different. Okay, so B12. We talked a little bit about methylcobalamin, about adenosylcobalamin, and especially that it's involved with odd chain fatty acids problems. Only bacteria produce B12. So I'm going to just Let's zoom down here. So you have all these notes, basically, so you can read about fatty acids and rancid fats. Okay, so let's just finish off on coenzyme Q10. So this is right at the end now. You'll be at virtually the end of the manual. So this has an important role involved with the last part of making energy, but it also has a role, it appears, to holding on and utilizing the oxygen on the mitochondrial membrane. Now CoQ10 is made from acetyl-CoA, exactly the same as cholesterol. So acetyl-CoA is what's made in the Krebs cycle at the end of glycolysis. So acetyl-CoA goes on through a series of intermediates to farnesyl pyrophosphate, and there is an HMG reductase enzyme here which is blocked by statins. So when you use a statin, you block here HMG-CoA reductase, which stops you from producing farnesyl pyrophosphate in sufficient amounts, which then goes on to lower the amount of cholesterol that you make. Brilliant. So you reduce your cholesterol. Okay. En route here, you don't make CoQ10. And this is more serious, really, because this is the heart of the mitochondria, the electron transport chain. So if you inhibit your CoQ10, you're going to not produce the last part of making energy. And to make CoQ10, in addition to farnesyl, you need tyrosine, vitamin B6, in other words, will be pyridoxal 5-phosphate, vitamin C, and S-adenosyl methionine, and O2. So if you can't get the O2 there because your heme is down, you're then going to have that knock-on effect that you can't make CoQ10. Okay? So very often you could have phospholipids checking okay, but your heme may need it, and then you come back, and that's why I tap those points to see if something else. So if you go weak at that point when you tap those, it means there's something else. Okay, luckily we haven't had that yet today, but you may want to decide then that it could be another nutrient in the heme pathway, or it could be CoQ10. So CoQ10 has a really important role here. So CoQ10 works in the actual membrane of the mitochondria between the inner and the outer membranes here in the complexes. So it's called CoQ10, sometimes it's just called Q in here, and basically it's an electron transfer. So it absorbs or takes electrons and transfers them. So it's like the hot potato mover, okay? But it's very clever because it gets rid of it. So what it does, it takes it from complex 1 and 2 here, when the electron enters, goes to complex 3, where cytochrome C takes it, and here cytochrome C gives it the cytochrome C oxidase enzyme, and then makes it into water. So H2O and oxygen mix here and produce water at this sort of point of complex 4. So CoQ10 is a carrier of the electrons. So basically, if you don't have CoQ10 in sufficient amounts, you can't make your last part of making the energy. Plus, the electron enters into the membrane and it doesn't have CoQ10. So it creates oxidative damage. It's a spare free electron. So CoQ10 is a lipid-soluble compound that occurs in all kinds of cell membranes in the body, and it has several functions. It is indispensable in the production of energy. It's an essential fat-soluble antioxidant. It helps regenerate other antioxidants like vitamin E, and it stimulates cell growth and inhibits cell death. It is beneficial for the prevention of cell damage in hypoxia, okay, which is what the talk's been about, especially in the cardiac muscle. It's richest in the heart than anywhere else in the body, which is why one of the best sources, if you're not a vegetarian, is heart tissue extract. Okay, so heart tissue extract, if you've got cardiovascular problems, you've had a heart attack, you've got cardiomyopathy, CoQ10 may be required to help these people, or cardiac tissue. And the great thing about cardiac tissue extract is you have the CoQ10, but you've also got the cardiolipin and other nutrients within the meat itself. And of course, eat heart. You eat heart, don't you? Do you like heart? Yes. It can be a bit gristly, can't it? Particularly around the valves. Because they can be made of cartilage. What?
You cut it out.
You can cut it.
Very much the time of year because the younger ones are more tender.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
to a time of year they do become.
Yeah. So those of you who've done the phonocardiography courses will know that the left ventricle is the most meatiest. You know, in the human being, the left ventricle can get to 4 centimetres in thickness. 4 centimetres in the cardiac wall. It's massive, isn't it? You think of the power in that. That is a real steak. Even Gary you could have done with that steak last night. The left ventricle of a cow.
We used to have bullocks.
Yes.
Hearts.
Bullocks' hearts, yes, yes, yeah. What do they stuff them with? Just stuffing, yeah. Nobody eats these offal anymore. So it's beneficial in the prevention of cell damage due to hypoxia, especially in the cardiac muscle. It has been used for the protection of myocardium in cardiovasculars such as angina, hypertension, arrhythmia, congestive heart failure. It has been proven to have anti-tumour and immune-enhancing properties when tested. Genetic mutations, aging, cancer and statin-type drugs can cause a decrease. So anybody who's on statins should definitely take CoQ10. There's no question about that. Low ratios of CoQ10 to low-density lipoprotein cholesterol is a strong indicator of the risk of atherosclerosis. Best sources of per milligrams of CoQ10, beef, pork and chicken heart. Okay? Organic, of course. Beef, pork and chicken liver. Sardines and red flesh fish. Soy, olive, grapeseed oils. Peanuts, sesame, pistachios, hazelnuts, parsley and finally avocado. But the hearts and the liver, the offal, are the big scorers here. Sardines, again, 50. Some of the oils there, 50. Okay. So how are we doing with Elizabeth?
Yeah, well, she did straight into the coenzyme.
She did? Oh, didn't, really?
Not the coenzyme composite.
Try her on P5P on its own. Well, yes, because she strengthened to protoporphyrin,
Yeah.
so she should strengthen the P5P.
The nucleus properly.
Yeah, that's right. And that is a P5P dependent, so I would imagine... No, she's all right on that. Okay, so...
Strengthened to the mineral composite.
Okay, so she could be one of the mineral cofactors. Stick that one on, but let's see just how bad she is with the lutein. So if we put the Mauve on her in the clear, so we're just about to finish, and then as we finish I want you all to do the Mauve challenge on each other. Okay. And then we'll see how many patients we got. Okay, so let's put a Mauve on, Elizabeth. Let's take everything off. Okay, so in the clear she weakens to Mauve. We've done that already. Now see how much lutein she needs. This is the lutein is the blotting paper for her, but it's and it will help her protect her eyes from further damage, but it's not the answer to the problem. The answer is to find what it is that stops the copper-porphinogen. So 2, 3. She's got to beat 5, isn't it? 5 is the champion. No, 6, I think. 6. But then that is during a migraine, so it's abnormal. She's got an added advantage. She's got a migraine. She'd get that championship somehow.
Would you recommend it all in one go?
Oh yes. Yeah, you got a migraine. You take the lot. Yeah. It obviously is water soluble, but carotenoids are also fat soluble. But it does indicate that the more you cook, the less you actually get out of your food. So raw green vegetables are much better. So probably a smoothie would be a very good way of doing this. So a smoothie you could put in your kale and your broccoli and not broccoli, your kale and your spinach and things, and then lose it with the flavour with some other nicer things. How many is that? 10. What? And she strengthens to 10. My goodness. Oh, we have a new champion. Sorry, Caroline, you lost it. We were worried about people with 5 and things at 10. You're going to walk around with dark glasses. So next seminar we come to, everybody be honest. All wear dark glasses. Okay, when will it be? Let's have a look. Dee, 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 dee. Yeah. In the tissue extract. The tissue extract is raw heart.
No, I'm talking about eating.
Oh, eating? No. Yes, no. The tissue extract is raw, and it's had the fat removed so it doesn't go rancid or anything. But that stuff is really good. In 4 weeks here, on the 5th of July, we'll be doing the 3rd of the phonocardiography seminars, optimizing human performance. So again, we'll be looking in the mitochondria at the energy production as well as the oxygen. So it'll be like a refresher to a lot of you. You don't have to have done the previous phonocardiography modules, and you don't even have to have a stethoscope, a digital stethoscope. You can have an ordinary stethoscope and use the same techniques. But the digital one is better because you can actually see it on the computer and pick up the heart sounds. But the idea here is to optimize human performance, so to bring out the best of looking at the energy production and toxicities and things for sports people. But we all want to be sports people, really, don't we? We all want to be the best that we can. And we're running that next weekend. The first one, which we like to run our seminars in Bristol first, get a feel of it, what works, the timings, etc. And then be back here at Crawley at the same hotel, same venue, even Gary will be the same in 4 weeks. And products, all products, laminates, test kits, biomarkers, DVDs, online video education is all available on the website. So that's www.epigenetics-international, or in the sales for things is sales@epigenetics-international. So that would include all the downloads for the laminates. All the laminates are on there, all the booklets on the body types. They're all down there that you can download. And I think Clive said that this particular module will be out and posted within 3 weeks, possibly before, but certainly around 3 weeks. And that will also be available if you prefer to have a DVD of your own and play it as you want. The great thing about the website is that if you watch it online, you don't have to worry about whether you've got a recorder that plays NTSC or PAL systems, whether you've got a Microsoft or Macintosh. They're all pains. People say, I can't play it because I got a Macintosh and everything else. But at least online, it overrides all that. So it's quite an advantage. And you can stop and start it from whenever you want. All right, so I'm sure you've got lots of questions. So what I want you to do is to test each other with the Mauve before you go. Just take any strong indicator. We haven't actually tuned you in because you really need to do this and zap if the person's not in balance first. But we'll just do it so that you can do it with the Mauve to get the feel of it. Put it over the eyes area and use a deltoid if you're doing it sitting. And let's see if anybody is, or how many of you are failing the test. You've got much longer. It doesn't get dark till 9 now, so you're not going home yet. Right, so I think we can... Oh, thanks for coming. What, to myself? It'd be good to have somebody, either you or Mari, to just finish it off as far as the filming. It would look better. Gonna have a word with Mari. Okay. We'll just let them finish off with that. I don't mind doing questions. It's only that it's 5 o'clock. I always have instructions not to go on. Mari gets funny about it. show positive to gluten? Oh, lutein. You show positive to lutein? Yes. Oh, right, but you don't weaken to the Mauve. But you're not tuned in, I think. I can't tell you need to be on there to do this and this, because the chances are if you're sensitive to the Mauve, or you're not sensitive to the Mauve, but you strengthen to lutein, that you have a light sensitivity. You're photosensitivity. With the light, with the neuron light, yes. So okay, we'll just use the table there and cross it. Just wait on. Okay, when is it best to take the lutein? Sorry, you didn't do this. Okay, yes, in fact, we'll just record this.
Have you, in research, have you found that there's a link between mitochondrial defects and autism?
Yes, it's heme.
So they
heme is the common link.
Children who've been
are low in cytochrome C, the enzyme. So one question that's arisen is, when should you take the lutein and the B6? The answer is muscle test. For the time, it's practically always at breakfast time. So whenever you test for timing for any nutrient that you take, you cross-therapy localize to the alarm points for what remains strong. So in the case where you put the Mauve on, or the therapy localization, you put the nutrient on, pyridoxal 5-phosphate or lutein, and then you go to the stomach meridian and see whether it stays strong. You go to the small intestine, which is lunchtime, and you go to the circulation sex, which is dinner, and any of those that go weak, that's not when you do it. Okay? So in the majority of cases, it's going to be breakfast time. Okay, so it's stomach time. Very rarely do you need it twice, unless, of course, you use a liquid, and you may need to top up. Okay, so that's how you do it. I think most of you are familiar with that. That's in the manual. Generally, amino acids are better 15 minutes before breakfast. Vitamins and minerals always with meals. Usually, if it's once a day breakfast, twice a day it'll be in the evening. Fatty acids are always with the evening meals. So oils, even if it's fish oil, flaxseed, whatever it might be, is with the evening meal. Probiotics, CoQ10, folic acid are always last thing at night. That's triple warmer time. And herbs and spices between the meals from a medicinal point of view. Are they not in there? No. Okay. All right. What we will do, what Clive will do, when this is posted online, this seminar, he will post the manual as well. So there'll be an up-to-date, yes, slightly, yes, you can print it off.